SureCart offers a lot of customization for the checkout forms inside of their tool. And with those options comes some confusion for some people about what type of checkout form I should use, how do I use it, how do I implement it, what are the differences? And I get this question a lot. So let's dive in and take a look at the three different types of checkout forms inside of SureCart. As I said, there are three types. This one is called a custom form. This one is the opinionated instant checkout. And this one is called the product page, or I like to call it the product page template. Now, all of them will let your user buy your product, but there are some nuances and some specific things for each of these that I want to go through to help you decide which one is best for you, and then I'll let you know which one I like the most. All of these can be accessed from the SureCart product editing page. So I'm editing one of my products, the Convology All Access Pass. And when you edit your product, you're going to see the section here in the upper right-hand corner called Publishing. Now, the publishing section can be confusing and slightly misleading because some of the terminology here isn't exactly precise. For example, let's take a look at the product page. Now, by default, you might think that you have to make your product's product page published in order for somebody to purchase it. But right above that, but the setting right above that lets us know that's false. You have the ability to make your product purchasable or unavailable for purchase. So then what's the product page? Well, that's that option that I showed you before, this one right here, and whether or not this particular page is published on your website. So in our example here, if we want this page to be accessible, we need to make sure that we make the product page published. Now the option right below it, the template, only has to do with the product page and nothing else. The other two options, the custom form and the opinionated instant checkout, these are not controlled at all by what you choose here for template. You can leave this as default for the template. You can choose your page layout as SureCart layout or theme layout. And you can choose here whether or not you want to use the default template, or you can create your own template here by clicking edit template. So let's actually start with this one right here. Again, this is the product page template. I will get my opinion out of the way right away by saying this is my least favorite, and it's because it relies heavily on your theme. What do I mean by that? Well, I mean the spacing. In this example here, you can see it's oddly full width, and that's because my theme, I'm currently using Astra on this particular site, and it's stretching out to about 1400 pixels width. Just does not look good at all. So I would need to edit my theme, edit this particular page, do some template editing to get this to work. Now you can click on edit template, or you can click on manage all template parts. I'm going to click on manage all template parts because I want to show you something. This is the template parts section. This is a screen that is relatively new to WordPress. It has to do with like the whole site editing in WordPress and the theme blocks and stuff like that. The reason I'm showing you this is because the entire concept of editing these templates for product pages is wholly dependent upon the theme that you're using. For example, if you're using Thrive Theme Builder, this does not work for you at all. In fact, this section may not even load. You actually cannot even use this particular page if you're using Thrive Theme Builder. So that rules it out right away. If you're using a block theme, something like Spectra 1, then this section is very relevant because this is how you will edit most of your site using template parts like this. In this case, I'm using Astra, so I'm really only going to see a couple of parts in here. I'm going to see the SureCart product collection, the SureCart products page, which is that product page right here, and the cart. So clicking on that pencil icon, I can click into each of these and adjust them as if I were using the block. I am using the block editor, right? So I can click on something and say, you know what, this image, I don't want to have auto height done. I want to adjust that so that it's automatically small. Maybe I only want the pixels on that image to be 500. And you can see this is already starting to look a little bit better, something more close to like a WooCommerce. So I can make little changes to the product page. I can, for example, click on these pricing options and say, I want them to be one column instead of two. And I can choose what I want this to say. Maybe I don't want it to say quantity. I can say how many do you want. I can adjust things like the buttons. You get the idea. This is, again, very dependent upon using a theme that's compatible. I went ahead and jumped over to another one of my websites that has Spectra 1 installed. It's a block builder theme. And you can see here under the template section, there are a lot more templates, basically everything for the site. And you can see here where the template gets added by. So we just need to find the SureCart ones. For example, let's go to products. And what a difference, right? Like it loads up and you can see the rest of the site within it. It just looks like it was meant to be used with this. And that really is the key. it is meant to be used with it. So again, same things apply, but you can see here it's like a full site editor. So I just wanted to show you that this system works incredibly well for block themes instead of just normal themes. It's faster and it just seems to load and work better. So I did want to give you that look. If you are interested in using more of this like product page template type experience, I would recommend a theme that supports this type of setup. So that's it for the actual product page form. Now to put a wrapper on this, everything within this publishing section, we no longer need to worry about. For the other two checkout forms, we just want to make sure that our availability is set to purchasable in order for these other two options to work. Now let's look at the instant checkout. The instant checkout is accessible here in the upper right-hand corner. If I drop down the instant checkout, I see that I have another toggle here for published. This published button only has to deal with the instant checkout page. If I don't want to use instant checkout, I simply make sure it's not published. If I do want to use it, I publish it. And this is actually pretty handy. If I want test mode just for the instant checkout page, I can enable test mode, and that's how I would manage the test mode checkouts for this product in the instant checkout. Now, as I used the terminology before, the instant checkout page, here it is again for you, the instant checkout page is opinionated. What does that mean? That's really just a fancy term for saying there aren't a lot of options, and the options that you have are fixed, they're set, it's meant to look a certain way, it's meant to behave a certain way. And again, that's just another way of saying you can't customize this thing beyond the settings here, where you can show the store logo or not, determine its width, show the product image or not, show a product description, which would be entered here on the left-hand side for this product description. Go back here to the instant checkout, whether you want to use a custom thank you page, a coupon field, a terms and conditions. That's it. Those are the only options. If you came in here and you said, well, what if I don't want this page to have my image at the top? And what if I wanted these to be not laid out this way? Sorry, you can't make those changes. It's an opinionated design. It's meant to get it up and running instantly and provide a very traditional checkout experience, something that you would see a lot in Stripe or Shopify. Nothing on this page is going to really offend the usability of any of your users on desktop or mobile. It's actually really handy to use for just a very direct, quick checkout. If you want to get the link to your instant checkout page, you can come down to the bottom of this instant checkout panel and copy the link or click view. And all that's going to do is take you to this page here. And if you're curious about the terms and conditions and privacy policy, these can be set inside of your SureCart settings. One last thing I want to say about this instant checkout page is that you can see here I am logged in. So for example, I have my email address automatically populated. I cannot edit that. And I have my name automatically populated from my WordPress account. If I reload this in an incognito window here, so if I'm checking out on the website for the first time, I enter an email and my name, it's automatically going to create an account on the website for me, and I'm going to get the ability to set my password inside of the SureCart account member page. And after this checkout, I will automatically be logged in. And at the confirmation page, I'll be able to access the member account dashboard in SureCart where I can set my password, and all of the emails that I receive are going to automatically log me in so that I can do the same. It's a very seamless experience, but I do want to point out there is no ability to set a custom password at checkout here. Okay, now the last of the three options, and I'll just get this part out of the way by saying my favorite of the three, so there's my opinion. So they're not actually accessible here at all from the product settings page. What you just want to make sure you have on, again, is the purchasable product availability. To create our custom form, we're going to go here on the left-hand side down to custom forms. And we're going to see a fairly familiar WordPress-like interface. This folder section on the left is called Happy Files. I have a video on my channel if you're interested. From this screen, though, we can click Add New to create a new checkout form. And the first option that comes up is this little interface that says choose a starting design. You can choose the default or a full page look. And in this case, this is trying to mimic that instant checkout experience, something you would be familiar with on like a Shopify. And the difference here is this is fully custom. Or you can keep scrolling down and there's simple sections, there's donation, there's a 2-column, which I actually really like the 2-column layout. And then there's like an invoice type where the user can type in their invoice number and type in an amount to pay. This is almost like a pay what you want in a sort of way. But you just choose the option that you want to give you a starting point. For the most part, these are all rebuildable just using the default form. So you're not like fully committed to one direction, but these get you started. For our purposes, I'll just select the default, keep it pretty simple for us, and then I'll click next. From here, you can select the product that you want to use. So when I drop this down, I'm going to see my products, and then I'm also going to see the price point for each of the products to add to my cart by default. Now, you do not have to select a product here. If, for example, you didn't want to select one at all, you can select it later, or you can use a product price or product selector block on the form. But I'm going to choose one by default just to illustrate something. So I will choose my Convology All Access Pass quarterly payment option. And then you'll see here you can keep adding products. So if you wanted to build a form that forced somebody to purchase all of these options, you would add them all here. I want to emphasize that products that are added here are products that are going to be all inside of the checkout. You have options here like the customer must purchase all options or must select one of the options. These are relevant. All of these have to do with what's added to your cart here. We're going to go over a standard type checkout in this video, so I'm going to leave that the customer must purchase all of these options. And then I'm not going to worry about setting a custom thank you page. I'm going to have it automatically redirect to my SureCart checkout page, which allows you to show things like the invoice information, things like that. I'll cover that in another video. And you may see here on the right-hand side, there is a custom thank you page option, so we can always set this later. For now, I'm going to click create. We'll give our form a title. I'll just call this my demo checkout. I have to click that eyeball. Now I want to point something out. This form is not previewable. Is that a word? Previewable? Meaning I cannot click this little preview option here and then preview the actual page because this is not a page. This is something entirely different. It looks like a page, just a block builder building a form. Forms are added to pages in a different way, either through a block or through a shortcode. So really what I see is what I get within the container itself. This form is going to adjust to the container size that it's in. So in this case, I open up the list view here and you can see my form is kind of going to jump full width unless I put it within a container that restricts that. Because my particular layout is 1400 pixels, it's kind of bleeding up against the edge. To fix that, I can always just zoom out to make it a little easier. Control Command minus. We'll just do that for now. I could always go into my theme and adjust things to make it render this way on the back end, but just one of the finicky things of the block builder. Okay, so now we have our form here, and this is customizable with the block builder. I can open up my list view, I can expand out form, and I can see I have the different components of my default checkout. The first thing I want to show you on the custom form is this gray bar here that says form. If I select this and I click this little shopping bag icon, I can get access to the products that are inside of my cart, and then I can add or I can remove them. I can also access this live flag here, and I can move it between live and test mode just for this form. This is not the product itself, but just this form. And then I can click that bag again to close that, and then we can proceed with editing or adjusting all of these different fields if we desire. One particular field that might be important for you to edit if you're creating like a checkout funnel, something for like a course or membership, you don't want your users to adjust things like quantity, so you would select this block, and then on the right-hand side under attributes, you would remove the ability for others to remove this product during checkout, and you would remove the ability to edit the quantity so that in this line item, they can't remove the quantity. And each of these individual elements, if I were to select them like the button, can be customized. I can change the text below the button. I can choose whether to show the lock icon or not, or the total, which is dynamic. It adjusts to the total here at the bottom. And I can adjust each of these using this block editor here on the right. If you're familiar with the block editor, you'll be very familiar with this experience. If you're not familiar with the block editor, you may have to get used to this. I have an entire SureCart course where I take a deep dive into all of this that you're welcome to check out. Now, the last thing I will say is here in the upper left-hand corner, we have this blue button with a plus. That's our block inserter. It's kind of contextual, so if you have nothing selected on the form, it really doesn't work. But if I select individual pieces, like, for example, if I select the order summary and I click the toggle block inserter, I can now access it again. But if I select like an individual block within this section, you'll see that it's only going to contextually show me blocks that will work inside of the line item. So it's a little finicky depending on what you've selected. I find the easiest way to maneuver around is just make sure I have a block selected like name or payment or something like that. And then I can open up my block inserter, I can scroll down and I can find all the SureCart blocks. So you may remember that I said you cannot have a password on the instant checkout form. at least at the time of recording this video, I know that SureCart is working on something that's going to come out related to this. However, I can add a password field from here. So for example, I can scroll down and I can find password. It's a little fingerprint icon, and I can simply drag that in and I can add the set a password field. And on the right, I can set it as required and even add a field to confirm the password. Very handy stuff. Now, the truly last thing I want to show you on this has to do with the product that's in here. So you'll see that if I've added a product here under the form section, under the bag, it will be here in the summary. It is being purchased. If I remove this product, we can instead save that draft. And instead, what we can do is we can add a block called a price toggle or a price selector. So we'll come down here and we will look for our price selector block, and we'll drag that in wherever we want it. Maybe we just want it somewhere in here. And then using our list view, we can drag that wherever we want it, a little more convenient. So with no product associated with this form currently here, just to confirm that here, we can click on our price selector and you'll see there's a product choice. So this is how you would add more of a choice to your form. So if I wanted to search for my all access membership, I could search for the yearly option and I could add the yearly option to the form. And then I can add another and do a search for all access. I could scroll down and I could choose the quarterly option. And then this is how you would build a price selector into your forms. You got to select that there. So now I have my Convology all access pass, both price options. But here's what's really neat. You can select each of the individual options and change what they say. So this first one on the right-hand side under attributes, I can change this to something like annual all access membership. And then I can select this option below it and I can write quarterly all access membership. And then let's say I wanted to highlight the fact that you save if you purchase annually. I could say get 2 months for free, something like that. And that is how you build a price selector. So now coming back to my real world example, this is the actual checkout page for my all access pass. You can see that that is what I did. I chose to go with the product selector or the price selector. In this case, they are the same product. It's actually a good point to bring up. I could choose, as you saw here, any product that I wanted from the price selector. So you could actually have someone choose entirely different products and they would be in the form. But in my case, my example here, I have my quarterly membership and my annual, and depending on which one I select, you can see here $180 every 3 months. If I choose annual membership, it's going to automatically update down below to show you that you save $120, you get 2 months for free, and it's only $600 every year. And you can see here that the button automatically updates between the quarterly and the annual membership, and it refreshes down below. So that's the form. And in this case, that only encompasses this piece of the form here. It doesn't encompass this header section or this sidebar-ish type. It doesn't give you this overlaid background block. This is the really cool customizable part of forms, even beyond the form itself. If we come back to our custom forms section, you can see that we have a shortcode. We simply take this shortcode and drop it wherever we want. That means if we're using a page builder like Thrive Architect, you can just drop it anywhere in a Thrive Architect design. If we're using a block builder or something like Spectra, which is what I'm using in this example, I would just take it and drop it in. Let me show you how that works. In our case here, I've built in my list view a header section with image and subheading. I've built a main background section for my page, which is white, and then I've built a checkout body. If I come back to my actual example, you can see that I have this kind of gray blue background here. I have a white background here, and then I have the form itself in this sidebar in an inset container. That container is here. I called it my checkout body, and within it, I have these two containers for my left and right columns. And you can see in the middle there is that shortcode. That is a shortcode from the form that gets added to the page, which renders this form itself, the custom form that we built. And from here, you can use the block builder to customize this page or your page builder, whatever you use, in any way that you wish. If you'd like to get this very simple overlay design, I'll go ahead and include a link down below in the description. I'll make that available to you so that you can get started very quickly with some design like this, just to get you started using custom forms, which again are my favorite type of form to use for SureCart. Okay, Future Doug here. While I was editing this video, I realized that I did leave off one additional form and maybe form type, and that is the store checkout. So under, or at least under SureCart here on the left-hand sidebar, you can see there's a section called Checkout. If we click on Checkout, that's going to take us over to the default store checkout page. Currently, mine just has a short code in it, and that's because if under SureCart I go to Custom Forms, you can see that there is a custom form for the store checkout. And if I edit this with the normal block editor, you can see that I'm editing this form like I would any other custom form inside of SureCart. So this is why I kind of forgot about it. In a way, it is a custom form. However, it is the primary checkout form for your website if no other checkout form is being used. So if, for example, I come to one of my products here and I click copy links, you can see that I have an add to cart button here and a buy button. If I use those, that's going to send me to the default store checkout. It's not going to use any custom form. Well, it is. It's going to use the custom form for the checkout page, whatever that has been set at. So I did want to bring your attention to that checkout page. Again, on the left sidebar under checkout, clicking that will take you right to the page. And in this case, like I showed, I built a custom form for that checkout. There was one by default back when I started using it. If you run through the wizard for SureCart, you'll have the same thing. You'll be able to build a custom checkout form. And then I just dropped the shortcode onto this page. Honestly, you could use a page builder to edit this page. At one point, I had it edited in Thrive Architect, and then I just dropped this shortcode into Thrive Architect. You can do honestly whatever you want to do. But for me, if I just quickly preview this page here, it's just a simple form right now that asks for name, email, and then has a right sidebar that has all the product details. Again, if you add products to your cart, they would all appear here, and then you could purchase whatever is in this checkout. Think of this like if you're familiar with WooCommerce, think of this like the WooCommerce checkout template. Whatever you add to your cart, whatever you check out with, will be in here, and then you can buy it. All right, back to Pass Doug. I hope that overview of the 3 different types of SureCart forms, pages even, was helpful to you. Just to recap, we had the product page, which uses like a theme template type experience, not compatible with every theme, and kind of not fun to use in some themes. I personally don't think it's very fun to use. In my particular installation of Astra, which is made by the same people, I think it's better to use in a theme like Spectre 1 or like a block theme. And then we have the instant checkout page, which is that opinionated, not very customizable, but very easy to deploy instant checkout for a reason. I actually like that. I use it for a couple of my different products when I don't feel like making a custom form. That's an option to you. And then we have my favorite option, which is the completely customizable custom form option where you get a short code or you can use a block and you can drop it anywhere that you want within any page that you've designed using a page builder or block builder of your choice. I have a lot more content about SureCart here on my channel. You can free to check that out. I also have a SureCart course that deep dives into all of these different settings. And of course, the All Access Pass, which we kind of used as a demo inside of this video, is available to you. I'll put links down below if you're interested in checking those out, and I'll see you in the next video.